When you're looking for a pack, there's several different ways you can go. The main two branches, you can go for an internal frame, you can go for an external frame. Philmont rents internal and external frame packs. This one's a Philmont rental pack. You can tell it has the number on it. We rent Kelty external frames and we rent Osprey internal frames. And for the OA Trail Crew participants, I think they usually get that included with their participant fee. If they choose to rent a pack, you can rent a pack from Philmont, and they have great ones. Like I said, there's two main groups. There's the external frame and the internal frame packs. They both have a stiff frame that helps support and helps distribute the load that you're carrying. On an internal, it's inside the pack. On an external, it's outside the pack. No big surprises here. But they fit and they behave a little differently. A great thing about an external is that it has a big, beefy, stiff frame that you can, because it's on the outside, you can attach equipment to the frame directly. You can tie your sleeping bag on, that kind of thing. The tough thing about an external is that it has a big, beefy, stiff frame on the outside. They tend to be pretty comfortable. They tend to be very adjustable packs. If you're somebody who's been growing a lot or knows you're gonna change height, an external can be great in that the length of the frame adjusts pretty easily on most of them. An internal, play with this one a little. An internal usually has less adjustability. You're gonna be able to change it by a few inches, but it's not going to change drastically on most internal frame packs. But you can get a really nice custom fit with an internal frame. The internal frame tends to be a couple of metal stays and some sort of panel, and it tends to be sort of flexible. It moves and bends a little bit. That helps it move with your body and kind of flex with your body. Makes it a little more comfortable, some people think. But as you get to having a really heavy load, it can kind of behave a little like a spaghetti noodle and not be quite as stiff and supportive. So both can work perfectly fine. I think the key to a good pack is you need to have one that fits. You need to have a pack that you've used before. You don't want to go out with some mystery pack that you've never tried to use. You definitely don't want to go out having not backpacked. Really, the key to making a lot of this work is just going out and using it and trying it. You want to have a good internal or external frame pack, and you want a larger pack. You don't necessarily have to buy the largest pack you can find, but you want a pack for a longer trip. You're going to be out for 14 days. You will not have to carry all of that food at once, but even 5 days of food is a lot of food. So when I pack, I pretty much pack the same personal gear that I would pack for a 2-day trip out here, for a 3-day trip. I pack the same stuff for a 14-day trek, but I have a lot more food and a lot more those types of things. I have more food, but about the same amount of personal gear. I need a bigger pack to accommodate that and to accommodate crew gear. I think with an internal frame, you're going to be looking at somewhere around 5,000 cubic inches or 70 to 80 liters. Someone who's very good at packing their things and has some experience can probably get a little smaller than that. With an external, the bag part itself doesn't have to be quite as big. An internal frame pack, you're going to want to fit everything inside. You need a pack big enough to fit most of your things inside. My sleep pad goes on the outside because it's light and it's bulky. But with an external, you don't need to fit everything in the bag itself. You could have your tent tied to the top, have your sleeping bag tied to the bottom, and as a result, the actual bag might be a little smaller. So you might have a 3,000 cubic inch external that holds as much stuff once you've tied some of it to the frame as a 5,000 cubic inch internal. I don't know, they throw around a lot of numbers, they throw around a lot of weird size names and things. Every brand does things a little differently. But if you go and you're trying to pick out a pack, especially if you're thinking about buying a pack, just bring your gear and go practice putting it in the bag and kind of see what happens. Be sure you're going to have room for all that food and crew gear. But try it out. You can borrow other people's packs, try those out, go out, hike around with them. You can, like I said, out at the ranch, you can rent a pack. If you get out here and you realize that yours might not quite be the right fit, you can rent one from the ranch. That'll work great out here. You just may not be completely used to it. On a pack, as we said, the bag itself, how much the pack can hold, is one of the size elements of the pack. You can get a pack that holds a very high volume of stuff, but you also can get different sizes of packs in terms of who they're meant to fit. I said this one's adjustable. With the internals, the straps and things come in different sizes. You can get a pack for a tall, skinny person. You can get a pack for a short, wide person. And you want to look at how that adjusts. Some of them are going to have that labeled on there. I believe this pack, yeah, when you look at it, it has an M for medium on there. And you want to see that. Because you might have the same volume pack as someone else, but they might be a large and you might be a small when it comes time to make that hip belt and make those straps fit. So there's a few things going on. Turn kind of sideways with me. There's a few things going on with an internal frame pack or an external that look a little confusing until you put it on and play with it. They have a lot of straps, a lot of buckles, a lot of stuff going on, but in essence there's two things we've got here. We've got shoulder straps and we've got a hip belt. And everything else is kind of helping make that work. You kind of have this kind of interesting sort of almost harness-like system that's attaching you to the pack, attaching the pack to you, and helping carry everything in a comfortable way. It's not like tying a load down to a truck bed. It's not like you put your pack on and you just yank everything, you just cinch everything as tight as you can get it. You don't want to do that. It's much more like tuning a guitar, where you want to get everything balanced and just right. The hip belt is what's going to be holding most of the weight on a pack. The hip belt's going to be holding most of the weight, so you want to have that tight, have that secure, and have that riding on your hip. There's a kind of a hip bone you have, and most hip belts will cradle right alongside that with maybe the top of your hip bone matching up with the top of the hip belt. The shoulder straps are going to wrap around and aren't going to cut in, aren't going to dig, aren't going to pinch in any strange ways, but they're not going to put a lot of weight directly on your shoulders. The whole point, it's been a good place to start, the whole point with a backpacking pack like this is to take the weight off of your shoulders and spine and put it on your hips and legs. It's a little more comfortable than just a regular old school bag or something. And so the shoulder straps and the hip belt help do that. But you're going to see other features when you go and look at a pack. You're going to see things like this strap up here. They'll probably call it a load lifter strap. You're going to see sternum straps. You're going to see a lot of extra whizzes and bangs added onto a pack. And a lot of them can be pretty helpful, but you have to know how to use them. You have to know how to play with it. When you've got a pretty good fit going on most packs, especially on like an internal frame, the hip belt is going to line up top of the hip belt with the top of the hip. The buckle, if you hold your arm kind of up, the buckle underneath the shoulder strap is probably going to be in line with his arm or in line with his armpit. The straps are going to fit cleanly. They're not going to push down super hard on his shoulders. And these load lifter straps here are at about a 45-degree angle. You don't want them going straight back or straight up usually. You want something like that. And they just help to get some of that weight, once again, off the shoulders and help kind of hold the pack still, keep it centered.